Never underestimate the importance of a good driving position. If you're a learner, it's going to help you learn. And if you're an experienced driver, it's going to help you drive better. If you have a bad driving position, you're also more likely to get back problems, and in a collision, you're more likely to get injured. The first thing to consider is your seat. Always do your seat first and then base everything around your seat. You don't want to be so far back that you're having to stretch for the clutch, but neither do you want to be so close to it that you're cramped and the gas and the brake gets difficult. The ideal distance from the clutch is as far back as you can be without having to stretch. Let me show you. I'm going to push my foot on the clutch first. If you're strong enough to do this, it's the best way to do it. Have your clutch fully down when you adjust it. Hold on to something solid like the steering wheel so you don't go flying backwards when you try and move your seat. If you're not strong enough, you're going to have to do it in more of a trial and error fashion. But my clutch is down. I'm going to move the seat back gradually until I'm getting to that point where if I go back any further, I'm going to be stretching to keep the clutch down. And that's about there. A little wiggle to make sure it's clicked into place. I'm going to show you what I mean now. So I'm going to get my phone camera, press record. There we go. And you can see I'm not pushing into the base of the seat. Whereas if I was to move the seat back further, now when I press the clutch down, you can see the base of the seat gets squashed. That's straining this part of my leg in order to keep the clutch down. That's not ideal. Being too far back and having to strain your leg to get the clutch down is not ideal, because if you're an experienced driver, it's going to make you tired more quickly. And if you're learning, even worse, it's going to make it hard to learn. If you want to get good at controlling the clutch, you want to be in a position where it's easy to control the clutch. The next thing to consider is the height. Most cars these days have a height adjustable driver's seat. At least the driver's seat is height adjustable. Some of them, the passenger seat is as well, but I find nearly all of them, you can adjust the height of the driver's seat. And this is where people can get a little bit confused, because you can have someone who's quite tall, say 6'3", and naturally they feel, well, I've got to have the seat lower because I'm taller. But that's not always the case. That can be the case, but it's more down to your body to leg length ratio. I've got short legs, but I've got quite a long body. I'm about average height. I'm about 178 centimeters, which is I think somewhere between 5'10" and 5'11". But my legs are quite short and my body's quite long, so I suit having a lower seat, simply because as my body is long, even though my seat is low, my head is still above the steering wheel. And I always have a minimum requirement when I'm getting my learner drivers to set their car up. I want their nose above this part of the steering wheel, this part of the dashboard. If their nose is below that, I'll ask them to make the seat higher. And that's where it can get confusing for some people, because I could have someone who's much taller than me, but I'm asking them to make the seat higher. And they're like, why? And that's because, yeah, they're taller than me, but they've got really long legs. So what happens is they get in the car and their legs are like this around the steering wheel, but their head's all the way down here. And I'm looking at them thinking, you can't see over the dashboard. And the advantage of getting someone with long legs to make the seat higher is not only if they do have a short body, it doesn't only make their head higher, but look what happens to my legs if I make the seat higher. I'm pretending I've got long legs now by lifting my legs up high, pretending my feet are further away from the pedals because they're longer than they actually are. And this is what long-legged people normally look like behind the steering wheel. If I make the seat higher now, watch what happens. You can see that I actually get in a better position. You don't want your legs pointing at or your knees pointing at the sky when you're driving. You do want to drive in position more like this, where I'm not going up and then down. Your legs aren't in that shape, they're more in that shape. That's your top part of your leg, and this bit here is your shin. Having your legs more like this does give you better control of the pedals. And you may think, well, if you're all the way up here, the steering wheel's in the wrong place, but that's where you can adjust the steering wheel. I'll get into that in a moment. But to summarize how high you want the seat, you want your nose above the highest part of the dashboard. That's the most important bit. And ideally, you don't want your knees either side of the steering wheel. That's not always possible. Some people are just really tall, and no matter where you put the seat, and this car does suit tall people as well. The seat goes back quite far, and there's a lot of adjustment in it. But if you've got someone really, really tall, they will end up being a bit like this. Avoid that if you can, but if you can't, you're going to have to live with it. If you're wondering how to make the seat higher or lower, well, most cars have a lever. I'll show you using my phone camera again. Just there, just at the side of the seat. So just to give you some perspective, I'm going to come up, there's the steering wheel, there's my legs, side of the seat, a little lever. Now you pump it up and the seat goes high. It's actually just, well, it's come off in my hands. Give me a second. I'll just click that back into place. There we go. That has happened before. It just clicks into place and it's a bit loose sometimes. But anyway, up and the seat goes up and you push it down and the seat go down. So basically you pump it up to make the seat up and you pump it down to make the seat go down. The next thing is this backrest. You can tilt it more back or forwards. It's mostly for comfort, but ideally you want your head, let's say my finger here is the head. I'll make it even better. I'm going to use this bottle cap. This is my head and this is my spine. You want your head on top of your spine so that it's pushing down on your spine. What you don't want is your spine curved like this with your head sort of hanging over the front of your body, which is what a lot of people do. It's what I do quite often as well. It feels more comfortable at first, but if you do a lot of driving over a long period of time, it's really not good for your back and it can cause you some problems. So if you look, my head here is on top of my spine. Whereas if I tilt the seat back a bit more, it's a bit more relaxing, but now you see I've got really bad posture. My shoulders are forward and my head is sort of hanging over my body, which puts a lot more strain around here. Try and find the happy medium where you're not so far back that you're hunched over, but not so far forward that you're uncomfortable. For me, it's about here. The next thing to adjust is your head restraint. Generally speaking, you want the main part of the head restraint in line with the main part of your head. You could say you want the middle of the head restraint in line with the top of your ears. Some people say you want the top of head restraint in line with the top of your head, but use your common sense on this one. The head restraint is designed to catch your head if it goes back. So if it catches your head when you do that, it's in a good position. How you adjust it, there's normally a button on the side. This one has the button here. So I push the button in, I can make it higher or lower. Or there is a button on this little bit of plastic. Some you literally just pull up or push down, and others aren't adjustable. If it isn't adjustable, you just got to live with what you have. Now your seat is good, it's time to do the steering wheel. Normally there is a lever underneath the steering column or to the side of the steering column. It's on the side of this car where you can push it down and then you can move the steering wheel. Some just go up and down, some go up and down and in and out, and very rarely these days do you get nothing at all. But most go up and down, in and out these days if you've got a car that's built in the last sort of 5-10 years. What you want to do is, for how close you want to be, you need to be able to put your wrist on the top of the wheel while still having a bend in your elbow. You don't want a big bend like this, like almost a 90-degree bend, because when you're turning the wheel, you might hit your passenger or hit the side, the door card here. But neither do you want to be stretching. You don't want to be like this to reach the steering wheel, because that's not going to be comfortable and it's not going to give you good control of the wheel. So wrist, top of the wheel, slight bend like I have there, that's a good distance. Then there is the height. You want it to be high enough so that you can see the dials through the middle of the steering wheel. If you go too low, at the moment the steering wheel is cutting off the dials. I can basically see half the dials. And if you go too high, then the top of the steering wheel might start to impede your view ahead. Once you've got what you want, leave the steering wheel still, just don't touch it, and pull the lever into place, and then it locks into place. A tip for when you push the lever down, don't try and move the steering wheel as you push the lever down. Most systems don't like that. And if you're putting pressure on the wheel as you're pushing the lever down, I find they can get stuck. So don't touch the wheel, down, then move, don't touch, then up. Now you have a good driving position. The next thing is to put your seatbelt on. Of course, I don't need to tell you about that. And then you've got to do your mirrors. This is your interior mirror, and this is to show you what's behind. You adjust it like this. Some are electric, but it's quite rare. And you want to move it so you can see the whole of the back window in it. I'll get my phone camera again and I'll show you that. There, you see, I can see the whole of the rear window in that mirror. Don't do this. Don't go really close to the middle of the car, adjust it. I see a lot of people do this, and then return to your normal driving position, because if I show you again with my phone camera, now you can only see a percentage of the rear window when you really want to move it so you can see the whole of the rear window. The offside is the most important side because that is where you're more likely going to see people who are overtaking you. The offside being the side that's closest to the middle of the road. Next job is to do your wing mirrors. Different cars have different systems. Most these days are electronic. Some have a little stick here which you move to move the wing mirror. Some you literally turn the mirror with your hands, open the window and give it an adjustment like this. Old Mazda MX-5s do that, and my Vauxhall VX220 does that, but in these days, in this day and age, you're rarely going to see that, if I'm honest with you. So on this car, the joystick mechanism is down here. I'm going to use my phone again to show you where it is, just here. It's currently on R for right. I can twist it between L and R to control the different mirrors. If I push it forwards, you can see the mirror goes up. If I pull it backwards, you can see the mirror goes down. And when it comes to height, you want to be able to see half road and half sky. So about that. So about half of the road, half of the mirror is taken up by road, and then the other half, the top half, is taken up by sky, trees and buildings. You also want to be able to see part of your car. So at the moment I can't really see my car. I can see a tiny little bit in the edge there, but it's not quite enough. So if I move it left, I'll show you that there. If I just move it to the left a little bit, you can see now I can see a bit more of the car. It's probably a bit too much car now. So I'll now move it to the right and do little clicks like this. It's easier to adjust it where you want to if you do little clicks like that. So I'll just click it out a little bit gradually to the right until I get about that. That's what you want. You just want to just see the side of your car easily, not a little sliver like that, or you barely see it at all. Maybe around about 10% of the mirror should show your car. Then you simply twist it to L and then do the exact same thing for the right mirror, which I already have set quite well. Of course, if I move the camera around, I'm going to get a different perspective, but around about there is what I'm actually seeing. Half sky and trees at the top half of the mirror, and half road and cars at the bottom half of the mirror, and a tiny bit of my car in the edge of the mirror, so I've got a perspective of where my car is in relation to other things around me. So that's your ideal driving position and how you set your mirrors. If you have an automatic car, obviously the clutch isn't a concern. How far forwards or backwards you are in an automatic car comes more down to the brake. You need to be able to get the brake down as far as it will go easily. And also you need to be comfortable as well. But generally speaking, I find with automatic cars, there's quite a long range of where you can be with the seat. You can be quite far back and still be good. You can be quite a lot more forward and still be good. But with a clutch car and a manual car, there is like a fine point where you're at your perfect position to help you control it better. I just want to warn you about the mirrors. The interior mirror gives a true image, but the wing mirrors give a shrunken image. The glass of the wing mirrors is convexed, so it shrinks everything down. That's good because you get more information in a small space, so you get to see more, but everything looks further away, which is not handy when you're trying to judge whether you've got time to change lanes, say on a motorway. Whereas this mirror is true, therefore things are true size, and it's easier to judge how quickly things are approaching you. So if you're going to change lane on a motorway, you want to rely mostly on this mirror. Definitely use your wing mirror as well to see what's more immediately alongside you, but for judging how much time you've got, rely on this mirror more. If you're practicing without an instructor, make sure you have insurance. Get £20 off via the link in the description to Collingwood, who provides specialist learner insurance that allows you to practice in a friend or family member's car without risking their no claims bonus. If you want to insure your own car, click on the link to confused.com. I have found that they have the widest selection of cheap insurers for young drivers. Well, I hope that helps. If you think it does, please give the video a like and subscribe to get my future videos. I'm Richard, this is Conquer Driving, and until the next one, cheerio.